All right, well, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Priya Bhutani. The goal for today's discussion is to give you an overview of the impending new medical device regulations in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia being a big country and a very important one for the Middle East region. We thought it would be valuable to have this discussion with an expert from Saudi. So today we'll discuss how these changes will impact foreign manufacturers and how you can best prepare for them. For those of you who may not be familiar with RegDesk, RegDesk has a proprietary platform called RegDesk Dash, and RegDesk Dash is an AI-enabled global regulatory approval platform. It provides RA teams with updated regulatory intelligence, tools to collaborate with local distributors, comprehensive tracking, and the capability to build your own international applications using AI just within hours. RegDesk Dash is a must-have for medical device companies wanting to either expand globally or those that have a vast geographic footprint already but are using traditional methods to maintain compliance. Please feel free to reach out to any of us at RegDesk for information or for a free trial. With us today, we have a leading expert from Saudi Arabia, Mr. Ali Sadiq. Ali is a consultant at a leading regulatory consulting firm based in Jeddah. His concentration is in medical devices and cosmetics and has helped foreign manufacturers obtain market authorization for all device classes. Ali's firm also acts as a legal authorized representative for foreign manufacturers. They have a high success rate of getting products approved by S FDA and that too swiftly. Along with regulatory expertise, Sadiq is also a certified lead auditor for ISO 13485 quality management system. But before we begin the conversation, this morning, I'd like to turn our attention to our attendees. Thank you again for joining us. At the end of this meeting, we'll hold a brief Q&A. We encourage your participation, so please refer to the chat button on your screen. In the interest of time, please submit your questions throughout the course of our talk, and we'll try to address as many of your questions as possible. In case we run out of time, please email us your questions, and we'll try to address them via email. Also, we'd like to get your feedback on today's webinar and ideas you may have for future webinar topics. We'll send a short survey post-webinar. Ali, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Hi, Priya. Yeah, sure. The pleasure is all mine. And thank you for everyone for joining.
Great. So I know we have a lot to discuss, so we'll begin. Let's start our today's conversation with an overview of the current regulatory landscape in Saudi Arabia. So can you give us a quick overview of the current registration process?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the SFDA must have started maybe 12 to 15 years ago. Since then, there has been the same guidance documents and same procedure. The whole procedure is basically twofold. The first side is the manufacturer registration, where we use AR registration portal of SFDA, authorized representative. And the second is the product registration. This is where we use the MDMA system or the MDNR system. This is Marketing Authorization and Medical Device National Registry. Now, the procedure of MEDMA, the procedure for product can be divided into two more parts. One is for class 1 non-sterile, and the other is for any other class except class 1 non-sterile. So class 1 sterile or measuring of 2A, 2B, 3, and so on. So the basic process starts with two. First, you register the manufacturer, then you start registering the product. Yeah.
Okay, and can we talk also about the product classification, because that's always the starting point. So how are products classified in Saudi?
Yeah, so here with the SFDA, they still use the 5 GHTF task force, yani the EU, the US, the Japan, the Australia, and the Canada. But the thing is, they follow whatever manufacturer class is. So if the manufacturer says my product is class 2A in country of origin, and they have a CE certificate for it, SFDA will use the same classification for the registration with the Saudi government over here. Yeah.
Okay. And then IVDs, are IVDs regulated separately, or are they mandated within the device law?
So it is within the same system called MDMA, but for IVD, they have 4 different classes like Annex 2 List A, Annex 2 List B, Self-Test, and General IVD. The requirements are same for medical device and IVD, but when you're working with IVD devices, there is extra requirement of European free sale certificate, which we're supposed to give to the SFDA if you're working with IVD products. This is not a mandatory requirement when it comes to medical devices, only for IVD. But yeah, that's the IVD.
And then this is always a topic that comes up, local testing and obviously foreign clinical data. So for high risk classes, does SFDA in the current registration landscape as of today, do they accept foreign clinical data for high risk classes?
So SFDA does accept foreign clinical data, but the only point they clear is that it has to be in English. It cannot be in any other foreign language. And when it comes to the local testing, this has not been SFDA's role as of now. They don't do any local testing. But we are hearing rumors that from 2020 or 2021 onwards, when the new regulation hits, which is called TFA, Technical File Assessment, which is similar to what's happening in Europe about MDT to MDR, at that point, we are hearing rumors that the SFDA will also start local testing. Maybe next year onwards.
Okay, and we'll dive right into the new process. But again, just to complete the circle of the overview, what is the average time for approval per the current standards?
Yeah, so the average time you're looking at, this is what the SFDA says. It goes from 40 to 60 days for the product registration. But this can vary depending on the cooperation we're getting from the manufacturer side and the type of documents we're getting. This usually gets delays as well, but 40 to 60 days is FDA, and this is for only high risk products. The low risk, which is class 1 non-sterile, you're looking at 7 to 10 days, and that's it, it's approved.
And the 40 to 60 days is even for class 3 devices, the higher risk?
Yes, for class 3
okay.
as well. Plus, I would like to point out one more thing over here. SFDA had a guideline since day one that you need 60 days to get your application approved, or they will delete the application, but they never used to follow that. What has happened is maybe by mid-2019, around June, September, they gave out another guideline saying now we are enforcing this, and you have only 60 days from the date of submission to get your approval in. If you're unable to do so, SFDA will delete the application, and whatever fees has been paid is non-refundable. So,
okay.
yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so now that we sort of have our foundation of how medical devices are registered, let's move to the main topic, which is what are these new changes? Because we've been hearing about them. We ourselves, RegDesk, has been writing a lot about this since the last several months. I know there are new guidances that are coming out. There's one that just came out, but overall, rather than getting into every guidance document, I'd like for us to address the main topic, which is what are the new changes? And so can you discuss, I know you just brought up the TFA, so can we dig deeper into the TFA?
Yes, okay, so all right, the way it works over here is that, so as you must know, Saudi already has a very big market. Almost 80% of products are imported. Very less amount is manufactured here. So as for that, SFDA always has very strict guidelines, very higher standard than the rest of the Middle East, in my opinion at least. What SFDA has been planning on for quite some time is that, okay, so right now you have one of these 5 options from GHTF to do the registration. But soon SFDA would like to implement its own system of registration, its own method, which is the TFA, Technical File Assessment. And this method was actually supposed to start from this year itself, from January, but the system wasn't ready yet. So they have postponed it to maybe mid this year or next year, something like that. The basic requirement now is where there is a guidance document also. It's called MDS G5. This was given out last year, where the SFDA is asking for scientific evaluation documents like CER, PMCF, PMS, biological compatibility reports. We are also asking for critical supplier information. So the process is getting complicated, more difficult, more strict. and overall it's just going to be it's going to be pretty hard to get into Saudi soon.
So can you, okay, so can we dig deeper into this? You mentioned CERs, PSUR. Is that for only class 3, or is that going to be requested of class 2B as well? And are these not being asked for currently? And is this part of just the new regs?
So yeah, so what's happening right now is since this regulation came out back mid 2019, they didn't enforce it, but they started testing it for only higher risk products like class 2B and class 3, mostly for class 2B laser machines, because these machines have that kind of products in it that they need to review the clinical evaluation reports, the post-marketing surveillance reports. So SFDA already started requesting them, and we have had approvals, and we have had registrations where the manufacturer was not ready. So the process is already started, but they are gonna enforce this for all classes when the TFA hits. But what we are hearing right now, this is just a rumor, that there is going to be a transition period of 1 year where they will have both methods available. You can choose if you want to go with the GHTF or you can go with TFA. And it's up to the manufacturer and the AR to choose what method they would use. But after that 1 year transition period is over, it's only going to be TFA.
Okay. And then so I know you mentioned 2021, has SFDA been clear? Do they have a date as to the month when it'll go into effect, or is it just very broad that 2021?
So they actually gave the date of 1st Jan 2020, then they postponed it to 1st April 2020. So right now, as per the regulation, this is supposed to hit 1st April. But what we are hearing, the rumors we are hearing is, and the way we are using the system is not there yet. There are a lot of technical issues. There is a lot of discussions we have to have with the SFDA. Some things are just not fixed, and they're trying to work on it. So the rumor has it that it's going to be postponed, but technically it's supposed to start 1st April. So let's just see how it goes.
Okay. And then when you say the system, are you talking about the electronic portal?
Yes. Okay. So the electronic portal, what's happening over here is before this, so there was a new system which came in January itself. It's called GHAD. In Arabic, it basically means the future, the tomorrow. Before this, there were 5 different systems of SFDA for registration: MDNR, MDEL, MDMA, and so on. What they've done is, since January, they've combined all 5 systems into one electronic portal called GHAD. So because this whole transition happened and the TFA was also going to be implemented, the TFA was postponed because the GUT system was not working perfectly fine. And now they're getting there, but there's still some work to be done to GUT.
So all the current applications that are being submitted, are they being submitted through GUT or no?
Yes. So
okay.
The SFDA gave the deadline, I think maybe I think January 1st was the deadline, that any new submissions has to be in GUT.
Okay.
And whatever's ongoing at the point, they have given the deadline, I think end of February. By end of February, you need to figure out what happens to your registration. By 1st March, the system will close, the old system.
Okay, but it sounds like the old system's not even accessible at the moment, right? You can only access GUT.
At the moment you can just look at the old approvals you have had.
Okay.
And it's just there, so they're still giving time to people to wake up and transfer the system to GUT. I have some clients who haven't transferred yet as well, and most of them have already transferred. But people have to understand that this is a very important factor, and that if you have not transferred to GUT, all your existing approvals are going to be deleted. So if you have managers in touch who have registrations but who are not in touch with the ARs, that now would be the right time to get in touch with them and ask them the question that, have you transferred my approvals to the new system?
Okay. And how long does this transfer take? Is this matter of just hours? Is it do you need impending approval from the agency?
Yeah, so the transfer usually in the beginning took 1 week, and now it's been come down to 2 to 3 days. All you need is just the authorized representative access of his old account and his information to draft the new account. They can do it themselves, but sometimes they get confused and they might hit the wrong button and make the wrong account, which has happened and sets them back. So I would recommend them hiring a consultant who knows what he's doing and who can make the transfer the most easiest and simplest way possible.
Okay, that's helpful to know. So, so we know these are going into effect, and it sounds like there's some gray area where it sort of is in effect, but not officially. How will these changes impact foreign manufacturers? I mean, it sounds like one big impact is the time to market. Second are documents. Can you just maybe touch upon highlights of where foreign manufacturers will see the biggest impact with TFA?
Yeah, so the biggest impact will be the same impact as right now. And right now, when we are doing registrations, there is one document which we ask, which is the audit report from the notified body on the inspection done annually. Now, manufacturers are already uncomfortable giving this audit report to us or to the AR as well, because this has their procedure, it has the non-conformities. This is a very big issue at the moment and has been for quite some time. What the TFA is doing is making that even worse by asking for critical supplier information for much more confidential information than they used to. So the issue that the foreign manufacturers will face is they have to build trust first with the AR and have the understanding, or maybe sign NDAs or something, making sure that the documents don't go in the wrong hand and that they are only used for registration purposes only. This is a very big impact, and this will also affect that timeline, because as of right now, like I said, it's going to be 40 to 60 days. But because the scientific evaluation documents already started mid-June, mid 2019, the timeline was already postponed quite a lot. So when you're looking at TFA, I mean, the SFD hasn't given any timelines yet, but you're looking at, it seems like it's going to be much more than 60 days. I think you should have at least 3 months in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds that way. And is it going to impact the class 3 devices further? Is one of the new requirements, are they adding local testing? I know you kind of mentioned that. And then also with clinical data, because those are two areas which, add to delays. If you have to send a sample in for local testing, or if you have to run a whole new trial in the country.
So we haven't heard anything officially from SFDA yet, but it seems like there will be all of this local testing and clinical evaluation, because as of right now as well, last year so we are an authorized representative. My company is an authorized representative. We have maybe 50 to 60 manufacturers all over the world. 3 of them got inspected last year by SFDA. So if the SFDA is willing to travel to the manufacturer's country to conduct an inspection, they're bound to have local testing done as well if you're going with TFA, because they can't afford to go each time for the inspection. So I think local testing is going to happen, but when the TFA starts probably.
Okay. So I guess what can foreign manufacturers do to prepare for these changes? I mean, what should we start doing if we're not based there?
Yeah, so the first thing you need to do is, frankly speaking, you need to hire a consultant or speak to an expert, because that's the first part, that you need to understand what the requirements are, if you can meet them or not, if you can find the correct partner in Saudi. That's also very important. And that's basically the gist of it. You need to understand where you stand with the Saudi FDA, because mostly what happens is the authorized representative has no idea how the registration happens. They are only focused on sales. So what they see is, they see a new product from a manufacturer, suppose example Germany. They will speak to him, they will place the order, they will bring the products here, and then they will think about, oh wait, I have to get SFDA. This will not be the case when TFA ends, because TFA is going to need 3 to 4 to 5 months of registration processes. So before the authorized representative gets in touch with the manufacturer has to be proactive and be like, okay, wait, will you be able to do the registration? If you cannot, you need to hire a consultant, or let me know, I'll take care of the registration and then give you the final product. Because it's going to be no good for any of them if it's if the approval doesn't come in time and the product is returned to the manufacturer. It has happened quite a few times here as well. So yeah, hire a consultant, main advice.
Mm-hmm. So, let's since we're talking about the GMP and the inspection, we have some questions. So what is the GMP regulation in Saudi Arabia is a question that's been asked.
All right, so GMP regulation, I feel this is the good manufacturing practice certificate.
Yes.
This is not used for medical devices. This is only used for cosmetic products. And as of right now, there's no real regulation, because cosmetics are the most simplest thing to register and the most less regulated in Saudi. So for when you're talking about GMP, you're talking about cosmetic products, and all you need to do is give a valid GMP certificate to the S FDA for cosmetics, and they will approve that certificate. That's it. There's no inspection, there's no regulation, there's nothing more to it. GMP is the most simplest form.
The second question, which I know you touched upon briefly, is how are SFDA inspections carried out? What is their focus during the inspections?
The inspection focus, Priya, I'm not so sure about this, because I'll have to check my documents, because the manufacturer did send me his inspection reports and everything. Yeah. There is a clear guidance document. Of course, there's no guideline. We haven't heard about this till last year, and I've been working here for 5 years in this field, and we've never heard about SFDA inspecting manufacturers. It happened last year itself. So maybe I can send you more information about this,
sure.
If that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure, what are the things they're looking for?
Yeah, and then we have some other questions. We have a question: what will be the impact on existing registrations? Can amendments be done under the old system, or would that trigger a complete change to the new system for that one registration?
Yeah, so again, there's no exact guideline from SFDA, but what we have heard is if you have an existing approval, which is supposed to be valid till suppose 2023, it's still going to be valid. You will not have to shift, because you got the approval on that basis.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if there's something coming in the middle of transition period, suppose something's expiring this year or next year, then that has to be renewed using TFA. You cannot renew it using the GHTF. That's for sure.
Okay, and then the question is, what if the manufacturer wants to go ahead with GHTF? Will SFDA force you to have TFA for all foreign manufacturers? It sounds like yes, they give you a transition period, and then then beyond that, you are forced. There's no more GHTF. Okay.
That's the thing. They were supposed to do this from January. They were supposed to start TFA from January and close down the old system. But because it wasn't ready, they put the GHTF option in the new system, so the registrations can still keep continuing till they figure out the TFA completely. But yeah, once it's finished, then there's no going back. The TFA is the only method.
Got it. Another question is there a registration guidance reference number that can be downloaded?
Yeah, for the TFA, there is a guidance document. It's called MDSG5. It's available on the SFDA site. It's a pretty big file. I mean, it won't be easy to go through and understand it from it.
Yeah.
We have done our best, and we have a brief understanding of how it works, the requirements. And so MDSG5.
Got it. And so another question, when is the old system closing?
This is what we heard. 1st April, the old system. The old system's closing next month.
So, sorry, next week or next month?
Next month.
Oh, next month.
April.
Okay. So
March,
I see.
April.
That's okay. So that's why you are emphasizing that foreign manufacturers must reach out to the ARs right away and make sure that they have transitioned over. Okay.
And also, just a piece of advice over here, because the system has changed, the certificate formats have also changed. Now there is a new format for the approval certificate. So a lot of our manufacturers we had approvals for, we had to send them all the new format of approval certificate so they can share that with their ARs. So if there are manufacturers who have not gotten this yet, they should ask their AR and have a copy for the new certificate as well.
Okay. And again, can you repeat what the name of the new system is? You mentioned it's GAD, right? GADH or no,
GHAD.
GHAD.
Yes,
Okay,
God.
so GHAD is the new system. Yeah, okay. Do you know, and I know I'm kind of, this came up again, how will amendment work with design changes? So
Yeah.
let's say you have an approval, but now you have a design change, or you have some sort of a change, but you're still within the approval period. How will that work?
Yeah, so we have been doing this for quite some time already. Whenever there is a design change or if there's an addition of model, you can update the existing approval with the new design or with the new models or whatsoever. The fees of registration is cut into half when it comes to this. I mean, the usual registration fee starts from 15,000 riyals for class 1 items here in Saudi. That comes down to 5,000 riyals if you're updating just a design or adding just a model. But you can do it. What will happen is, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the transition period. I would not recommend anyone doing it in the transition period if you already have an approval, which is valid for another year or two. But if you have to do it, then it will be going under TFA for sure, even just a design.
Okay. Okay. Are there any plans to allow electronic instructions for you? So EI Fuse, is that plan for the SFDA to implement with TFA in the new regs? Have you heard anything about?
Yes, I have heard something about it. There was a guidance document which came out a few months back, because I don't think I've had a chance to read at it. I'll look into it, Priya, and
Okay,
I'll say brief about it as well. But there is,
sure.
for sure, yeah.
Okay, maybe we should have a version 2 point, another series, maybe a second webinar to maybe go deeper into some of these regulations, and we'll
For sure.
let the viewers email RegDesk, please, if that would be valuable. We can certainly go into more in depth into the regs themselves. There's a cosmetics we're hearing, yes, second webinar would be great. So perhaps we can schedule one in the upcoming week, and it's been suggested to do it 1 hour, so we can certainly do that and accommodate that. So that being said, one last question. Well, actually, before we'll come back to the Q&A and send emails, but I always like to end the webinar with 1 or 2 questions. One is, based on your experience, what reasons lead to delays in product approval?
Yeah, on our experience, I can say that the requirements are not clearly conveyed to the manufacturer since the beginning. What a lot of ARs do over here is they get document requirements. That these are the requirements of documents. 7 documents right now for METMA. You upload them, and then the SFDA starts giving comments on the documents. And when the SFDA gives comments, there is no chance you have to comply with them. So my advice would be first to, know that these are 7 requirements, but what are the requirements inside these documents? Yani, for example, if you can just think about the audit report, like I said, the audit report, you understand, okay, fine, Ali has asked for the audit report, we'll give him the audit report, he'll submit to the SFDA. That's not that simple. The audit report has almost 7 to 10 more requirements inside. It has to be less than 12 months old. It has to be physically signed. This is the SFD requirement only. It has to be physically signed by the auditor. If there are any non-conformities, you need corrective action plan. You need acceptance of corrective action plan. And if you don't have acceptance, then you need a letter from notified body saying that these open non-conformities will be looked at in the next audit. So all of this sometimes is not conveyed to the manufacturer, and just the requirement is conveyed. And when you submit the application and the deadline comes in that, okay, now you only have 50 days left to get the approval. And if you're unable to do that, the AR loses its money, the manufacturer loses its trust in the AR. So the whole thing goes south. So my advice would be get a consultant, hire a company, hire someone with knowledge, speak to him, get the requirements in, and then start the entire process.
Sure. And we have a lot of questions questions. Sorry, we're unable to address those because we've run out of time. But I think the takeaways are TFA, sounds like we're transitioning from GHTF method, which has been fairly easy, to now a more stringent method with the SFDA. We can expect more local testing, more requirements, more documents we have to provide. Sounds like biocompatibility, which it tends to be an issue in most countries, will also start to become an issue. A lot of these certificates require original signature. So a lot of documents that'll require a lot more attention. So the suggestion is to engage a consulting service like Ali's, rather than just going and blindly providing technical documentation to your distributor. That being said, it sounds like we should perhaps schedule another webinar covering Saudi and the changes, and dive deeper into what these regulations are. And so we'll certainly plan for that in the upcoming month, or in the next 2 months. We'll schedule something with hopefully Ali again. Thanks, Ali. It's been a very engaging and informative session, and we really appreciate your advice and expertise.
Most welcome, Priya. Most welcome. This was my first ever seminar with you guys. So thank you for the invite, and I hope everyone learned something. And I'll talk to you guys soon again.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks. And thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at desk@regdesk.co, or you can just come to our website, regdesk.co, and send us an inquiry through that. Once again, thank you, everyone, for your participation. And we'll chat again next month with another webinar. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.